from the media, with the comments from Juju. And
I don't regret what I said. I said the Browns are the Browns. You know, they played a hell of a game.
It wasn't about that specifically. There was no added pressure. There was no extra anything. No one believed in us besides us.
They were like, Pop, why you all like that? Why you talk like that? Why you all like that?
They thought we were just going to come out here. It was going to be a cakewalk. And there was no way we were going to come out here without giving our best shot.
As soon as the COVID news came out that we were missing some key guys, obviously starting with our head coach, we knew that everybody was counting us out.
Corvette, hopping in that like that. Like that. They were like, Pop, why you
Good Monday morning, and that might be the understatement of the year in Northeast Ohio. You heard it all on ESPN 850 WKNR. Welcome inside. Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests on the Goodyear Hotline. Here's the deal, fellas, before we get into your weekend. Just think about this from a calendar perspective. The greatest day in Browns history, recent Browns history, March 23rd, 1998. That's the day the NFL said, welcome back, Cleveland. You've got an NFL team. They played their first game the following year, March 23rd, 1998. Welcome back. I think it's pretty clear. The second greatest day in recent Browns history, at least of this incarnation, came yesterday on Sunday, January 10th, when they won their first playoff game in more than a quarter century. The fellas are ready to go.
Baker Mayfield commercials, Zubin. Here they come. Let's go.
No doubt about it as they get ready for the Chiefs. So that's the calendar perspective. The return and then the return to prominence, literally speaking, yesterday. Fellas, let's just talk about Super Wildcard Weekend, a weekend almost unlike any other. 3 great games. Saturday, 3 more Sunday. College Football National Championship tonight. We are packed with football. And fellas, how did you enjoy the weekend? Football overload, to say the least.
It was good, man. The weekend was football wasn't an overload though, right? I mean, that's what we do. We love to watch the games. We love to sit down and critique everything and listen to the narratives as they set, you know. So I had the mega cast yesterday, the film room with Teddy Bruschi and Matt Hasselbeck and Coach Rex Ryan and Booger McFarland. So we had a chance to break down the games, look at plays, rewind them, why certain things happen. That was fun. Having the opportunity to do that yesterday was a lot of fun. Prior to that, I, did a little shopping early on, Zubin, in the beginning of the week. Had, go get some food for my weekend. And I did, in fact, bring my bags along with me. So I didn't bring them to the studio. I brought them inside the car as we went to do a little bit of shopping. And that's pretty much it. Was shocked about what happened last night. Not shocked, but kind of, Jay, just, anything could happen. But let's be honest with each other. None of us saw that happening.
Not that, Key. I'm with you. I mean, first quarter, 28-0. You're like, what is going on? I mean, it feels like the Bills-Colts game was a year ago. That's how the weekend feels like, I guess, from the overload, right? And coming into Sunday, I was like, well, that's a game that we're obviously going to be talking about. Obviously, the Bills, had some issues. I thought they looked good, but didn't run the ball. I think their defense was questionable at times. And now we're sitting here talking about the Browns going against the Kansas City Chiefs. And damn, they look, I mean, it's just, what a difference a year makes, Key. From the immaturity that we saw last year to how mature this team handled everything that happened this past week. And for them to come out the way they did against the Steelers, it just kudos to them, man. My hat's off to Cleveland.
But that all starts with the front office and Andrew Berry, along with Kevin Stefanski, bringing a different type of mindset. So now you can hand that off. Now, you remember the Cleveland Browns have been preparing for not necessarily losing the number of coaches and players that they lost for this particular game in the wild card situation in the postseason, but they had prepared, one of the handful of teams that had prepared at the beginning of the year for the what ifs. So they did that already, kind of like saying to themselves, something could happen. We need to be prepared. We need to have this situation take shape. If for some reason we need to have an interim head coach, or some reason we need to have an interim offensive line coach because Bill Callahan wasn't there, they needed to figure out how to do it, and they did it. They did it at the beginning of the season. So when it came to them, they were prepared like nobody else. And look, a lot of us counted them out, like Baker Mayfield said the moment that they lost Kevin Stefanski. The first thing he says, well, it's over. Of course. Who in their right damn mind would think that a team that hasn't practiced all week long with no head coach, missing coaches on their staff, and some players that are key in certain spots, they don't have them, would go out there and hang 28 points immediately on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nobody. That's why my friends were texting me throughout the night and saying, I got it wrong. They should have bet the house on it. I said, well, yeah, next time go bet the house on it. Don't listen to me. Just you go bet the house on it and see what happens. Because there's no way you thought 48-37 would be the score at the end of the game. You can't. There's no way you could tell me that.
I mean, just the way, we're showing the footage here just off that snap, right? By Pouncey, bad snap. They recover in the end zone, then an interception. It's watching Ben Roethlisberger the other day, Key, like 4 picks in the game. I think 2 of them were really bad throws. Man, they look bad. They look, and I know they've been spiraling out of control, losing their last 4 or 5 games, but it just, them being down in that ball game, it was just, Cleveland just felt like they were on this mission just to tear them apart the whole game.
And it did feel that way, Zubin. It certainly felt like that Pittsburgh smelled blood in the water, and they went after it like a pack of wild dogs. That's just the way that they approached it, and they didn't take their foot off the pedal. Although, at times late in the game, I thought that they were going to Cleveland Brown it. And, I started sitting on the edge of my couch and saying, I know they're not getting ready to give this away.
That's what you thought coming in, especially with the history of the Browns. A couple of points here before we hear from Baker Mayfield, who has every right to crow. First things first, as you mentioned, no Kevin Stefanski, missing a ton of their offensive weapons. They scored more points than any other team on Super Wildcard Weekend. Think about it. Nobody was more decimated on offense than Cleveland, yet they scored more points than any of the other teams we saw on Saturday or Sunday. Shout out to Coach Prefer, who was in there for Coach Stefanski. He's a Cleveland native, grew up a Browns fan. I could only imagine what was coursing through his veins to take over in a spot like that as a kid who lived and died with the Browns growing up in Northeast Ohio, and he's the guy that snaps the streak. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Here's Baker Mayfield. You might remember earlier in the week, Juju essentially said, hey, man, it's the same old Browns, even if it doesn't look like it. Let's just say some of those comments were bad juju for the Steelers and nothing but great energy for